Johannesburg. There are views that it may have been set alight this early hours of this morning, and initial investigations, or according to security personnel, they think that it was petrol bombed. That's at the Kingsway campus at the University of Johannesburg, and the building has been closed, so students are not being allowed to go into those buildings, but we will get more information as soon as our reporter arrives on the scene there. All right, let's go over to Palesa now. Palesa, what do you have for us?
Well, thank you very much, Leah. Now, President Jaco Zuma has, in terms of Proclamation number 1 of 2016, published in Government Gazette of 22 January 2016, established a commission of inquiry into the feasibility of a free higher education and training in South Africa. The members of the commission are Judge Jonathan Heher, a retired judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal, who is the chairperson of the commission, Mr. Gregory Ally, a practicing advocate, and Ms Thabisile Khumalo, a practicing attorney. In accordance with the published terms of reference, the Commission will inquire into and also report on and also make recommendations on the feasibility of making higher education and training fee-free in South Africa, in line with the Constitution, of course, and the relevant higher education and basic legislations. Joining us in studio to talk about what the Commission has done thus far is the chairperson of the Commission, Judge Jonathan Heher. Judge, a very good morning to you and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Padisa.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. Now, let us start first with understanding your mandate as the Commission.
Yes, the mandate of the Commission is to look into the feasibility of fee-free higher education, which means that it is essentially an economic question of whether, if fee-free education is provided, it can be afforded, and if so, how it can be afforded.
So you do not basically look at if it is possible, you look at if it happens, whether it can be affordable.
No, we must find out whether it is economically possible. That will involve socio-economic questions as well. It may be that questions of who should receive the education come into our mandate, because it may be possible that we don't provide, or that fee-free education not be provided to everybody, but that on the basis of what is realistic, it should be provided to some and not to others.
The reason for my question, especially on your mandate, is because there was a lot of criticism from mainly political parties saying that the Commission established is made up of people with more knowledge on the judicial system rather than your higher education as well as financial system.
I've no doubt that's true, but we are all experienced people. As you know, it's a judge's business to know everything that he's told and to interpret it. And we have been briefed with a great deal of information. This is not a new matter. It's been investigated over many years, and we are required to take a fresh look at it with a slightly different perspective.
But then how far has the Commission done in terms of carrying out the mandate?
Well, as I say, we have been reading vastly into all the commissions that have been appointed over the years, ministerial commissions and committees, expert reports that have been submitted, with a view to understanding the background, the problems involved, and the potential for raising the money, how it should be done, how it might be done. And to look at new avenues as well.
So, I mean, the fact that you actually consulting on the previous report means that this is not a new point. It's not something new. It's always been there because there are reports on it.
Well, one of the things that's not been drawn to our attention clearly yet is the extent to which previous recommendations have been implemented. So we know that quite a lot of good ideas have been voiced in the recommendations over the years, but we don't know to what extent they've been implemented. And we want to know, if they haven't been implemented, why they haven't been implemented. Presumably there were good reasons for that, whether they were purely financial or whether persons came to the conclusion that they were not the best ways of going. We will have to find out. What we want is a new perspective on how education can be financed at the highest level.
So what is going to happen next? You're still looking at the reports, the previous reports now. Are you perhaps going to call in some higher education experts
We have had staff appointed, and principally we have an evidence leader. We have consulted with the evidence leader. We have put forward ideas, and she, who is herself a very capable advocate, will be working out a plan of where we should go in finding expert witnesses, where we should consult, how we should lead the witnesses who want to come forward and give evidence. As you know, we've invited representations, which should be in by the end of the month, but we're not going to hold anybody to that.
Exactly what I wanted to get clarity on as to what kind of submissions are you looking at? Any
submissions that relate to the mandate.
Okay.
That is to say, if anybody thinks that they can help us in solving the question that is put to us, we would like to hear what they say.
I do know, Judge Heher, that it's a little bit too soon to say, but what have you gathered so far? Will it be possible for us to have a free education at higher institutions in the future?
Well, the great majority of reports over the last 18 years have said that free education for all is not feasible. But if one limits it to the poor, and this inquiry may in the end turn out to be limiting to the poor, then no doubt it can be made feasible. It's just a question of where the funds are to be found.
Yeah,
and how
and
they're to be
you
found.
and I was just talking off air now that it is actually a problem if universities are producing high number of graduates and yet those graduates cannot be able to find employment.
Yes, very much so. That has been the experience insofar as we've been able to take it in from the reports that we have read. That is one problem. You don't want disappointed graduates. All competing for a limited number of jobs.
Now, for those who would love to make some submissions, how do they go about doing that?
Well, any submissions should be put in writing, and they don't have to be more than concise. They only have to be enough as to interest us. And if we receive them before the end of the month or within a very short time thereafter, we will consider them. And if we consider that they are meaningful, we will ask the witnesses to come and to expand on them orally before us.
Okay.
And that we hope will happen in July and August, perhaps even earlier.
Okay. Now, when is the Commission expected to report back to the President?
Well, the Commission has 8 months to hear the evidence and 2 months to prepare the report, and so effectively the report should be in the President's hands by the end of November.
So you're already halfway now because this is the 4th month since the establishment of the Commission.
Well, practically we are not halfway, but in theory we are halfway.
Oh, well, that's where we're going to leave it this morning, Judge Heher. Thank you very much for your time. There you have it. We're speaking to Judge Jonathan Heher, who is the chairperson of this commission established to actually find if it is feasible for us to have a free higher education here in South Africa. Well, we're taking a break.